Hello, I'm Pam and welcome back. So today I am working on these back of the chair organizer bags. So I have one right here already completed. Now I have a bunch of other ones back there completed too. I'm going to show you this one. It's the one that I did today. And it uses elastic. Let me go ahead and get the other ones and show you what I have. Okay, so I already made this one. It is a green, and I've done a green binding on it. Little accent colors. And I've already done 11 more of these things that I've already given away to my daughter's teacher. Then I have this one. And just use fun, colorful prints, bindings. Kind of like a canvasy type of fabric. So what I have at home, I currently have 5 of them completed. These 4, and then that blue one right here, the blue and green one. And I still have quite a few more to complete. I am giving these to my daughter's kindergarten teacher for her class. So, first, you're going to need a pattern. Right here, I have a pattern that I have actually took off ones that she already had, that she had bought some from the dollar store, Dollar Tree, and it was wearing out, and she needed them fixed. So she's like, hey, can you still fix this? So I took it, and I took it apart so I could sew it back together. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to make her some better ones. So the one I took apart, I traced out the pattern piece. So it's basically a 15 across, and 20 from top to bottom. And then basically just going up, it just has that little curve. Which I'm sure if I hadn't have already cut them all out, I could just do ones that are just straight up and down, which would work out just fine also. And if you did it just like straight up and down and then just folded it over, you would eliminate the need for elastic, because you would just sew the sides together all the way up. But I didn't do it that way. So I have my instructions, well, my piece instructions written on here. Hopefully that isn't backwards for you. So basically, you are going to need 1 10 by 15 inch. Let me just go ahead and put that on there. So a 10 by 15. Then next, go ahead and pull these forward here. I'm hoping I have that right. Okay. And then you are going to need the 15 by 8. So basically the width is going to be 15, and the height going up, one's going to be 10 inches and one's going to be 8 inches. So basically when they go together, they're just going to layer on top of each other and form that pocket. I don't know if I can get it straightened out. But it's going to layer together and form the pocket for the piece. Okay, next, you are going to need 2-inch strips, binding strips. Now this, I just cut from selvage to selvage. So I'm not using a bias binding, but you can. I have used bias binding for this, and it works just fine. But these are just straight across from selvage to selvage, which this one is like 44 inches. So basically let me go ahead and get out this other piece here. So we have this piece. So basically, for one of these, you're going to need, if it's 44 inches, you're going to need to sew together 2 strips. So take and stitch together 2 strips when you are sewing it around this. And then you're going to need at least 1 strip to put across the top of these pockets. So here are the pockets here. And you just put the strip across there on both the 10-inch and the 8-inch pieces. And you can use any color of binding. And then, after you get the pockets, so basically you do the pockets first with the binding going across. And then, when you go to layer it, you put the 10-inch piece. Let's go ahead and show you here. You can see that. You have a 10-inch piece here. There we go. 10-inch piece here, 8-inch piece here. You layer them together, and the bottoms are even. You take and you stitch up and around the edges, and then you're going to take your roller, and I have the quilter's roller, and you're going to mark across from either edge 7.5 inches. And you're going to mark, and then you're going to take a stitch and stitch down that along that 7.5 inch mark. Right here, is dark thread. You kind of see how I have stitched that down. See if I've got one that will show up better. And this one you probably won't be able to see very well either. No, you can see it a little bit. You're just going to take and stitch down that. And then after you stitch that down, you're going to take and you're going to attach it to the sides. So you're going to take this piece and you are going to layer it on top of this piece. So you're going to take it out. I'm getting my act together here. So we have this piece. And after you have these all sewn together, you're going to line them up down here. You see that okay? And you're just going to stitch along the pieces. So just stitch along. And then for the elastic, you are going to use like a 1-inch wide elastic. You can use even 3/4 inch, but I'm using a 1-inch wide, and you cut that to 2 inches length. So I have the piece of elastic here already pre-cut. So it is 2 inches long and it's 1 inch wide. And basically when you attach it on this piece, it's basically going to be attached right along the piece. I guess it would be better if I showed you with white. I don't have any white elastic cut. So let me go ahead and show you with a different color so that you can see it easier. So I have right here this piece, okay? So on the back side of the fabric, you are going to attach this piece of elastic. And you're going to want to make sure that it's down just far enough so that when you're sewing your binding on the edges, it doesn't catch in that top edge. And you're going to basically stitch those down. And then how you stitch it to the other, after that stitch down, you're going to basically take it and at the top of where, like in that little seam of there, where that attaches, you're going to attach it on the underneath. So you're going to basically line it up. You can see that. Basically line it up right along between those two pockets. And it makes a good indicator of where you need to attach it. And basically the pockets are going to be about right there. You're just going to attach that, and it's going to go, and that's going to be attached like that on the top. And then the binding is going to be wrapped around it, and the binding is just going to conceal that piece in together. It's just going to conceal it. See right here? The binding is just below where the elastic connects. And that elastic is just right in between those two pockets. And that is how you make a back of the chair organizer bag. It's pretty simple, straightforward. I think I will probably go through and show you just the steps. So first, go ahead and cut out your pieces. And so cut out a 15 by 8, a 15 by 8, a 15 by 9, a 15 by 10, sorry, a 15 by 10 piece. Go ahead and cut your 2-inch strips. You can cut those from bias to bias, and well, selvage to selvage. Blah, 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 blah. I can't even talk here. So selvage to selvage. And with one of the strips, you're going to want to sew 2 strips together to make it long enough to go all the way around. And then you're going to need at least 1 strip of selvage to selvage to form the pocket binding on the top. Or you can use pre-purchased binding. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, I have my 2-inch strips cut. I'm just going to take the ends. Now you can either sew them together like this, or you can do kind of a diagonal bias trim and put them together like this. And you would do right sides together. And you basically put it in your machine at an angle. Let's go ahead and move this closer. So I'm doing this on my computer, on my laptop. So you basically just put it in there, and you just put it right there on that little edge there. Down. I set my needle. And I go ahead and do a back stitch just because I don't want my stuff falling apart. Okay. And trim my threads. And then just makes that little diagonal. And I just go ahead and take my scissors, and we will just trim off this edge. Just like that. Then I'm going to take it over to my iron, and I am going to iron this piece open, and then use my bias binder, my binding maker thing, and go ahead and get all these edges turned in. So let's go ahead and go over to the iron and show you what we've got. Okay, I've got this laid out on my iron, so I can go ahead and take my iron and fold this open and iron it. Okay, my iron is ready to iron. We're just going to go ahead and go over this spot and make sure that it is down where it needs to be. Okay, next step, I'm going to take this nifty little binding maker, and it works really good. It's a 25 mil, works really good. It's a 25 millimeter, and it works really good for 2-inch strips. Okay, so I'm just going to take this and I'm just going to kind of fold it in and kind of feed it through. Usually there's an angle on strips, but when you're just cutting them selvage to selvage, it doesn't leave that triangle. And I'm just using just like a thing. They say you use awls, but I don't have any awls available. So I just kind of use my little seam gauge end and just kind of feed it through. And see, it just feeds right through. And then I take my iron after I get it fed through the first couple inches. And I like to have my steam set on this, just because a little bit of steam helps set it. And I like to cheat sometimes. I just kind of take and hold my iron, and I pull the strip, and this is just kind of sitting against my iron. And I just kind of go nice and slow, and it just feeds it through. I did this earlier and it worked out great. So whatever way you want to do it. If you don't have one of these, I'll go ahead and show you what we can do. You just take and fold it in. Like that, and then iron it going down. Or you can also just take and fold it in half. Go ahead and take and fold it in half and iron it. And after you get that ironed down so it has that crease in it, you just take and fold in those ends. Just kind of fold them in, and you can just go like that and just go along and fold it in as you go. And it works out pretty good also. Just whichever way you want to do it. It is great. You know, to each is their own. Creativity is inspired in many, many ways. So go ahead and finish ironing your strips, and I'll show you the next step. Okay, so I have my strips all ironed, and remember it's a selvage to selvage. And you can pre-cut, or you can just line it up and then cut it after. But if you just go ahead and cut it to like 15, 16 inches, so you can go like 15 inches. So cut it at 16 inches, just so you have that inch of leeway. And you're going to want 2 of these. And then basically you'll just have a shorter section left that you can use for something else. So we're just going to take these, and we are just going to line them up on this edge. You can use clips, you can use pins, or you can just freehand it and go ahead and set it in your machine and stitch it together. And so I'm just going to put it in my machine here. Go ahead and pull you a little closer so that you can see what I've got going here. I just got it in my machine. And I just have my stitch length set at 3. You can do any stitch length that you would prefer. And I just go ahead and go along and just stitch this. Okay. And once you get that stitched up, you can clip those ends. There we go. And it is all stitched together. And then we're going to go ahead and do that to the next piece. So we're going to take our next 15-inch piece here and line it up on there. Stick it in the machine. And just go. Okay, so next we have those two pieces. We have the 10 by 15-inch piece. Let's go and move that down. Alright, so we have the 10 by 15-inch piece and the 8 by 15-inch piece. We're going to put those together. Go ahead and use some clips and just clip those together. And the only reason why I clip them together is because I don't want them moving too much while I am stitching them together. Well, then I'm just going to take and I'm just going to stitch along the end. I do a back stitch just to make sure that that pocket stays in place. And turn it. Okay, now I lost my scissors somewhere. Okay, so next we're going to take the ruler and we're going to find our 7.5-inch mark. And I just basically take and I just line it up along the edge of the fabric at the 7.5 inches. And I'm just using some Taylor's chalk here. Line that up and then I just mark it. Because 7.5 and 7.5 is 15. And so you get that right in the center. And if you want to just double check that on the other side, you can, and that will show 7.5 inches. Then basically you're just going to take your stitch and you're just going to stitch upwards. Take the machine here and go ahead and put it in there. And I like to go from the bottom upward, just then there isn't any puckering on the bottom edge there. Okay, and And I'm just using black thread so you can see it. And it'll be very detailed. So you got 2 pockets there. And then you've got the large pocket there. And then we're going to sew it together to the other edge. Okay. So I have my other piece. Then take this pocket piece and just line it right along there. Alright, so I have this all clipped together here. And then I'm just going to take my machine and I'm just going to stitch along the edge here. I got my machine. And we're ready to stitch it up. Alright, so we've got it all stitched together. The pocket, edges, so we have the pocket there, got 2 pockets there. Next, what we're going to do is we are going to add the elastic pieces on there. And for this first little bit, I am just going to add the elastic on the ends like that. So not on that one, but right on the back side. And I want to attach it to the back side. And just right in between those pockets. So you can do in between the pockets, you can do on the bottom edge. So like right along there. On the other side, you could do along there, you could do in the center. I like to kind of do in the center, and I can gauge that pretty well. Pull this back over. I just take my elastic in there, set that down, and do a quick stitch. Alright, I've got that one done. And then go ahead and take it over and do this other side also. I just like to go back and forth just a couple times to reinforce that stitch. Now if you want, before you add on the binding, you can put the elastic right there and then just kind of work around. So I'll go, but what I like to do actually is as I'm going, when I get to that point, I'll add the elastic when I get the binding to that certain point. But what we're going to do for this sake today is to show you, we're just going to go ahead and attach it. So I'm leaving enough room for that binding to go around. And we're just going to go ahead and stitch that on. And I just like to do a stitch so it just reinforces that elastic staying in there, because these are for kindergartners. And you know how 5-year-olds can be rough on stuff, right? Right. So the stronger they are, the better. All right. And there we go. So we're almost finished. The next step is to attach the binding around the outside. So, remember how I had you stitch the two binding pieces together. So you're just basically going to take it after you have them sewed together and stuff. Basically going to take it here and just fold it over. And for this, I just like to use my binding clips just to make sure that they stay in place. And then I'll show you how I do my corners for these. So with the corner, basically kind of wrap that, and you just basically take it and then make it, I think on the last one I kind of made it I made it even like that, so it was kind of square. So you can do it triangle, you can do it square type. And I kind of just do mine alternating. So this one's going to be square going that way. This one is a square going that way. And then I use these clips, my Wonder Clips, and I just clip it because they hold a little bit better. And you can also use these kind of binder clips. Or you can try these kind of clips. Now these are just like, kind of like hair barrettes that you can get from Walmart. For like $3 for so many. $3-4 bucks. I'm just going to go ahead and finish binding this together, and then I will show you what the next step is. Okay, so we've got it all connected except for the small little part. And usually I like to fold this in, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a selvage end as the end because it's not going to fray if it's a selvage end. So I'm just going to cut it probably about an inch past that, this little tail. So I have a little bit amount left. Just take and leave that end. And I just kind of fold up the edges of this other piece just so it doesn't show, and clip it up. And then when you have them all connected like this, the best way to do it is to go from the back side, because then you can maneuver around these edges. Okay. I'm just basically going to start where I have those two pieces joined together. So along here. Then we get to our corner piece here. Let's do a little back stitch just to, reinforce that corner. See, now we're working right along this edge where the elastic is. Let me make sure I have it all positioned properly here. And it kind of takes some maneuvering when you already have all the elastic attached. But it's all okay. Some fabric manipulation here. Just keep going. Keep moving, keep moving, keep going. Don't stop. Stop. Alright. And it's not the prettiest. Twist it around. Alright. Go ahead and clip your threads. And there we go. We have the back of the chair organizer bag that is complete. I'll even show you. See, I have a chair right here. I will flip it around. Move the camera so you can see. I have this chair here, and it just basically goes right on the back of that chair. Just perfect. And it works good for the little kid chairs. So let me go ahead and show you how it works on those little kid chairs. I have one of these little kid chairs in my chairs that kindergartners sit on. It just fits right on over the back. But I think their chairs are just a little bit bigger than this one. But yeah, works out pretty good. Alright. Well, thank you so much for watching. I'm hoping you all have a wonderful day. And this is called the Back of the Chair Organizer Bags. Great for elementary school children. Have a wonderful day. Bye.